Hello, Arjen, and well, thank you so much for giving us time to answer our questions.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure.
Uh, for starter, I really must congratulate you on the new album, new
Thank you.
Star One album,
Thank
but
you.
also for your whole body of work. Quite impressive. Would it be with Arion, Star One, Ambient, Guilt Machine, and Streams of Passion? Congratulations
Etc.
for that, and thank you. Uh,
My pleasure, really.
Over the years, um, the articles I read, the interviews you did, uh, gave me the impression that beside being a great musician, you also are a music fan, a little bit like I am. Is that a correct assumption to say that you are a music fan?
I think that's very important to be a good musician. You have to be a music fan. You know, it's not enough just to be talented or just to have a good voice or just to play guitar really fast, you know. I think really you have to be a music fan. So yeah, when I was a kid, you know, it was every day I went to the record shop and we had like 10 record shops where I lived, and every day I would go to another one because I would always listen to everything and not buy everything, you know. So record shops always hated me because I was there every day listening to music and then they had to take it off. It was all still vinyl, you know. So yeah, I was a big music. I still am a big music fan. Yes.
Your two main vehicles, musically speaking, are of course Arion, but Star One also. This
Mhm.
time, you've chosen Star One after a little more than 10 years. Why is that choice at this time?
Well, every album I do is a reaction to the album before. And the album before this was Transitus, the Arion album. It was kind of like a musical. It was a soundtrack to a movie that's never been made, unfortunately. And yeah, people didn't really understand it. A lot of people, you know, it wasn't really like a metal album. It wasn't really like a prog album. Um, so I felt, you know, I got something to prove here. You know, I gotta take it back and not try to make such a difficult album with all these different styles and different layers, and just plug in the guitar, do something straightforward, base the songs on riffs, and make it a little bit easier to listen to than the last Arion album. And that automatically leads me to Star One, which is based on the more rocky side of Arion.
Uh, we have been used to double albums, six if I'm not mistaken, with Arion,
I
and
think so,
this
yeah.
yeah, I think so. And but this time, still a double album, but
Not really.
a new kind, I would say,
Right,
uh,
right, yeah.
with the second album being called Same Songs, Different Singers. Tell us about
Yes.
that because that's new.
Well, because of COVID, I could not fly all the musicians into my studio, which is a shame, you know, because I really love to have them in my studio and work on the songs together, but it wasn't possible. So I had to send them guide vocals. And these guide vocals had to be really good because I couldn't be there to record them, you know, so I had to raise the bar really high. So I sent them guide vocals that were so amazing that some of them said like, hey man, why do you need me? I can't do any better than this. So yeah, these guide vocals were so good that I felt it would be a shame if they were never released and if no one would ever hear them. So yeah, CD2 is basically half of it is guide vocals, so it's vocals that went to the singers of CD1. But then when I decided to release it as a separate album, I also invited some other singers for that album that I've always wanted to work with. Because, you know, I told you the downside of Corona, which is that I couldn't fly people in. But the advantage of Corona is that everyone had time for me. You know, everyone was at home and no one could use the excuse that they had to go on tour, you know. So
I, you're talking about singers. How do you proceed to choose the singers? Do you have a magic hat to draw from? Is it intuition, or do you have a more of a process because there are so
yeah.
many?
I'm subscribed to a lot of magazines. and I keep a list, like here is a list, for example, and on that list I write down reviews of bands where they say they have a good singer. So then I take this list and I go to YouTube and I check out all these bands. And every time I hear a singer that I think, whoa, I want to work with, I write it down on another list. So yeah, I got a list of, I think, about 200 singers that I still want to work with. And it's a combination of my all-time heroes like Robert Plant or David Gilmour or uh, Ian Gillan, Kate Bush, etc. Um, and amazing new talent. But I have to say, I'm totally spoiled, for singers. I work with the best singers in the world, so a singer has to really, really impress me. Has to be really, really good to impress me.
I would extend that question for the singers, but to the guitars players or keyboard players. Yeah, there have been so many of those throughout the years. You either are the most convincing man on the planet or the sweetest one, maybe a combination of both. No,
Or
jokes
maybe the
aside. But
richest.
but how do you do that? It's almost magic to see all those great musicians joining forces with you.
Well, it's an addiction, really, because when I started with Arion, I asked my favorite Dutch singer of all time, Barry Ave Goldenering. I asked him to be on the album, and I never expected him to say yes. And he said, "Yeah, sure, man. Give me a bottle of whiskey, and I'll do it for you." And it was like, "Oh, I'm working with my hero." And that was the start of an addiction. Like then I asked on the first album to Lenny Wolf of Kingdom Come, and then on the third album I asked Fish of Marillion, of course, ex Marillion, and I could get the best singers in the world, and every album I wanted more and more and more and more. And yeah, how do I do it? It's once you've worked with a few big names like Fish, like Bruce Dickinson, like Mikael Akerveld, like Neil Morris, etc., etc. It becomes easier, to get other singers because they take you serious. They think like, whoa, this guy worked with Bruce Dickinson and Fish and Anneke and Floor Jansen, and Russell Allen. I mean, he must be good, I want it too. So yeah, the bigger names I get, the easier it will be for me to convince people.
Are there still some on your list that you haven't worked with yet?
Oh yeah, 200. So like all the names I just mentioned, all my heroes that I grew up listening to, but also a lot of new singers. I would have to get the list and I would bore you with like 80 names. So so yeah, there's always people I still want to work with. Yeah.
If you could go back in time, except the using Star One, but if you could go back in time, who would you work with?
John Lennon. John
Yeah,
Lennon for sure. Yeah.
uh,
John
yeah.
Lennon. Oh, there's so many, John Bonham on drums, Cozy Powell on drums, Phil Lynott on bass. Of course, Ronnie James Dio. I would have wanted to work with him, and yeah. Now I'm mentioning all the people who died. I don't know why.
Let's get back to Revel in time. What gave you the idea of writing songs about movies that deal with some kind of manipulation of time? So it's quite specific, but it gives
Yeah.
you quite. It's interesting overall.
Yeah, it's always been my favorite subject, my favorite sci-fi subject. I've always wanted to do an album about time travel, um, but the first Star One album, Space Metal, it was very spacey, so I based the songs on movies that were set in space. The second Star One album was very dark and heavy, so I based it on dystopian movies like Blade Runner or Clockwork Orange. Um, and this time it was a bit lighter. The songs are a bit lighter. There's a few more positive songs on it. And movies about time, you can go a lot of ways. You can go very dark, like the Terminator or Donnie Darko, but you can also go very positive, like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or Groundhog Day or Back to the Future. So I felt that this album was perfect for this subject.
Time manipulations for this album, as you talking about dystopian universe, space travels, fantasy. Obviously, can we say that you are a science fiction amateur?
Professional. Yeah. No, first time I saw Star Trek, I was a little kid. Yeah, maybe I was 10 years old. I don't know. I saw the old series with Spock and Kirk and I saw that on TV and I was like, what is this? They were on some weird planet with blue women and weird green mountains and I was like, oh my god, I loved it so much. So ever since the first time I saw Star Trek, and for me it's the optimal escapism. I'm a weird recluse and I don't really live in this world. I'm constantly somewhere else in my mind, and of course science fiction is the perfect means for escapism.
Since I'm an amateur myself, I do agree with you. Are you reading also science fiction? Do you have some favorite writers?
The weird thing is, I'm ashamed to say that I've never read a book in my life.
That's kind of
I don't have the patience and I don't have the concentration. And I've tried, and my mother forced me to read every day. And I was just holding the book and turning the page. She would say, "What did you read?" I was like, "I don't know." I couldn't concentrate on it, which is very strange.
yeah.
But
You're talking about,
maybe one day.
who knows? But it is more strange because you're talking about patience, and that lead me to the next question. Because when we see a project, would it be for Star Wars or Arion? There are multiple details, booklets, guests, the visual, everything. So how do you proceed to choose a concept, but also to develop it to such an area of details? Because it must take patience.
Well, patience is if you have to wait. That's patience for me. So if I invite a singer and I don't hear back from him, I hate it. That's the downside. I'm not a patient man at all. But I like to keep going. I like to keep working, and it's all baby steps really. I always start really small. I also always want to make like a very simple small album. Like Wish You Were Here of Pink Floyd, it's for me the ultimate album. It's just half an hour and it's really simple, in a good sense, simple. It's not
Absolutely.
complicated with fast stuff and then loads of information. It's just do 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 do, and I'm always trying to make an album like that, but I can't do it. I start and I keep building and I keep inviting more singers and keep inviting more instrumentalists, weird instruments, dulcimers and mandolins and cellos and violin and flute and horns. And thing is, it's another addiction. I can't stop when I'm in the studio and I'm creative. I just keep going. When I start, I really don't have a vision, like, oh, it's going to be like this. I just let it happen. And
That's interesting, because during that process, during that work goes on and on that you add to, do you have sometimes guitar riffs or ideas that you may put aside for future use, or do you put
no,
all in at that time? You're working on Revel in time. Let's go.
Totally,
We do
totally.
all.
I never keep something for something else. It's I'm really focused then, and I want to use everything I have, and everything I don't have, I delete. It's like I never want to hear it again because I didn't approve it the first time, so I won't ever use it again. So no, I never have stuff left. You know, I use everything I have, um, and out of the 100 ideas I have, maybe 20 of them survive. You know, and the rest just it's
Go
just not
down the
good
drain.
enough. Yes, yes.
Uh, Earlier, you said that Revel in Time was in reaction to Transitus, and I also remember having read that's your usual way of putting an album out, that being a reaction to the precedent one. Um,
Always. Yeah.
how is that is that how you work basically, or is there a reason that we should know that you work that way?
I'm always looking for challenges. That's one. A second thing is if you repeat yourself, you have to make something better. Otherwise, why do it again? You know,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do that. I want to try to make something different. Like if you have a great movie like Jaws and you make Jaws 2, you know, it will never be as good as as Jaws 1. So it's better to make Close Encounters after Jaws, you know, and it's a good example I'm just coming up with. So yeah, no, I want to challenge myself and try new things and not repeat myself, you know. It's because it's boring for me, and I think it would also be boring for the people who listen to my music, because you know it's progressive music, which means it's adventurous. And, I want to be adventurous with my music.
Revel in Time has been out a few weeks now. Are you satisfied with the reactions so far?
Extremely, you know, with Transitus, I was not satisfied at all. You know, I kept getting mails from fans saying like, you know, we don't know. We have to listen to it a couple of more times, but we don't really get it. And the reviews were not positive, you know. And I'm spoiled, you know. When I started with Arion back in '93 or '94. Um, I always had good reviews, and I was always album of the month, you know, and always entering charts, and people were always positive. And suddenly, you know, you get these negative comments, and it hurts, you know. Really, I read all the reviews, and the negative ones, I always answer them too, you know. I always like, why do you say this and why do you say that? so so yeah. This time it's above expectations, because you know I make what I think is a simpler album, is more straightforward. You know, I wrote it within 1/3 of the time that I wrote Transitus. So for me it's like, hey, let's make just a nice album to listen to, and reactions are overwhelming, you know. And I don't know if you saw the chart entries. It's entered the charts in about 10 countries, I don't know, and really high and stuff. So yeah, you could say I'm satisfied. Yes.
So people were expecting energy, and you gave them energy.
I think they were ready for some energy. Yeah, I think they were ready for something a little bit more catchy, you know, something they would listen to and like, oh, this is cool, you know, and not something, oh, I have to hear this 10 times to get into it. So,
And uh, do do you already have something in mind for a future project, or you still are recuperating from the work you did?
no, I always want to, like I said, I'm not a patient man, you know, so I want to continue. I want to dive into the new one. And of course, I was ready more than half a year ago with Star One, you know, because it takes half a year now to press vinyl. So that's why it takes so long before it's released. And I always wanted like go start the new project as soon as possible, but it's not the way it works, you know. The more you want it, the less you get ideas. So I grabbed that guitar and I'm pretty perfectionist, you know. So uh, it has to really, I really have to think this is better than anything I've ever did. And so far, I don't have that, you know. So it's just waiting for inspiration. Then the first idea will come that I like, and then you get secure, you get more secure of yourself. And then, you know, it starts flowing, and then I'll just let it come to me. And at that point, I have no idea. I have no idea what will be next. You know, if it will be a solo album or a Gentle Storm or Guild Machine or Ariel. I have no idea. I just, you know, let the ideas come, and then at some point when I have like 50 good ideas, I'll decide what it's going to be. So.
A few quick questions to conclude, if I may. First
Sure.
prog album you bought.
Sorry?
First prog album you bought.
The first.
The first.
Must have been Pink Floyd. I think it was, yeah, it was A Nice Pair, which was a double album. It was a combination of Piper at the Gates of Dawn and Souls Full of Secrets. I still remember.
The latest you bought?
Oh, I have no idea. It's so hard because I don't really buy albums anymore. I listen on Spotify or I buy it on iTunes. So, that's hard to say. I would say Toe Hider because I've just been listening to it yesterday. That's why I think of it.
It counts.
Yeah.
First prog gig you went to?
It's probably Blue Oyster Cult. Can we say it's prog?
I think Prog Archives say prog related, so that must count.
Yeah, I think so. Because it was in 1975. I was 15 years old. It was the first show ever I saw, and it was great. They had this laser show, you know, and it was amazing. Yeah, big Blue Oyster Cult fan. So.
And the latest?
Oh, I never go to. I'm such a recluse, man. I never go out anymore. I probably have to say Toe Hider again because that's the only time I go out now. You know, if a friend of mine plays and they want me to come there, then I'll just stick my head in for an hour and then I'm gone again.
And I think I got a tough one. If you have to choose one song, no matter the genre, what would be your favorite song?
Well, I would say just one, eh?
Yeah, I know I told you it was a tough one.
Because I can't decide now between Stargazer of Rainbow and Day in the Life of the Beatles. I have to decide, right?
Great choices. As a matter of fact, my favorite guitar solo ever is Richie Blackmore on Stargazer.
Okay, yeah, with the slide guitar.
I had the chance to saw that show with Colin Powell on the drums. Pooh,
Me too.
Something else.
I saw all it's the Holy Trinity, you know, Cozy Powell, Dio and Blackmore, those three, you know, and I've seen them a couple of times live, and that was the best ever, you know. It doesn't get any better than that.
I said Colin Powell. Oh God, Cozy, of course.
Cozy.
Thank you so much, and Arjen, the last words are for you.
Oh, well, it's always hard to say. I never know what my last. I don't want to say my last words yet. You know, I'm way too young. No, no. I just, you know, I hope people will enjoy this album and please let me know what you think of it. Everyone can reach me by email address or my Facebook and stuff like that. And I love hearing from people. You know, I will react always. It's very important for me to hear opinions of people. So yeah, hope you like the album.
Thanks again a lot.
You're very welcome.